Teaching People to Sail on a Desert Lake by Todd Frye. Bonneville School of Sailing and Seamanship was founded in 2007 on Utah Lake. This was a dream idea that started with one sailboat and a love of sailing that has only grown over the years. We sail out of Utah Lake State Park, a DNR state-controlled facility. Many of our students have gone on to purchase their own boats, compete in national pro sailing races, or have actually sailed around the world. But our home grounds on Utah Lake are where everything really begins. Back in 2007, the Provo Marina had rickety old docks that if you weren't careful, you could fall right through them. And when the water levels dropped in the fall, our keels and rudders would strike marine hazards, read boulders and abandoned concrete anchor blocks inside the marked boating channel. This became so dangerous to the boating public that we organized a letter writing campaign to state legislators in 2014 and finally got a much-needed grant to partially dredge the Provo Marina boat channel in 2016, with dredging completed in 2018. To date, Bonneville has trained approximately 500 competent sailors to go out to live their sailing dreams. As inland landlocked populations discover the huge potential that Utah Lake can offer, bucket list sailing dreams become realities. One of the top 3 sailing grounds in the world in a magazine survey asked of the general worldwide sailing community is the British Virgin Islands, also known as the BVIs. I mention this to put some perspective on the size of Utah Lake. The Drake Channel, which the BVI chain surrounds, is exactly the same dimension as Utah Lake, 24 miles long and 7 miles across. Sailing weather on Utah Lake is not as predictable as sailing on the ocean. Lake sailors are more in tune with wind shifts, puffs, and lulls. Sometimes wind and weather can change from nothing to Mr. Toad's wild ride, as our head instructor likes to call it, in mere seconds. To that end, one of Bonneville's students has accepted a challenge to develop a Utah Lake high wind alert app called Windy Lookout. I use it, as do many of our local sailors, and have found it to be a huge safety tool for heavy weather avoidance. Along these same lines, we have been encouraging every year the state to monitor VHF radio frequency 16. This channel is monitored by vessels around the world, but for some reason not on Utah Lake. Bonneville gives away VHF radios as prizes for the annual Utah Lake Keelboat Regatta, so that we can have ship-to-ship communications in case of emergencies. Many of the questions we commonly receive is about the media-driven fears of sailing in toxic algae blooms. When a Division of Water Quality first came on the scene, espousing the toxicity of Utah Lake, they actually shut down the entire lake while we were out on a sailing lesson. I now ask my students if they can see any algae while we're out sailing, and the answer is no 90% of the time. Algae blooms are largely contained to very shallow areas and generally not noticed out on the open waters. Our sailing school became friends with the Utah Lake Commission in 2008. We were invited to sit on their public advisory board panel to discuss and sometimes solve pertinent issues facing Utah Lake. The commission was the brainchild of then Mayor Lewis Billings, a staunch supporter of the lake. Since those early years, we have gone on to partner with the Commission's 4th grade field trips for our local public school system, participate in and spearhead the Utah Lake Festival Keelboat Regatta, an event to raise awareness of the endangered June suckerfish, and promote and organize the annual Summer Sailstice, a social sail across Utah Lake. Although I am not a scientist, I offer my observations over the past 20 years that Utah Lake is actually getting cleaner. I attribute this to the Loy fisheries, netting, and removal of the prolific lake carp. When I first sailed on Utah Lake, when anchoring out, I would notice that the anchor line would disappear immediately as it entered the turbid, muddy-looking water. It may have been about 5 years ago when I began to see the anchor line about 2 inches below the surface. Now I can see about 12 inches of line below the surface. Through charitable contributions and professional engineering expertise from our sailing community, the Provo Marina now has a donated mast crane to assist in safe sailboat preparations. Bonneville worked for years with state park officials to clear liability, insurance, location, construction, and installation hurdles of this much-needed permanent crane. Our clientele surprisingly come from as far away as Dubai, England, South Korea, Texas, Montana, Idaho, and even Salt Lake City. Demographics are all over the place. One year we'll notice the majority of clients are lawyers, the next year university professors, the next computer specialists, and the next accountants. We enjoy teaching military veterans. For some reason they make great sailors. Counting the sailboats located at the Linden Marina, I would estimate we have around 100 vessels in the water here on Utah Lake. Believe it or not, some folks that live along the Wasatch Front confess they never knew Utah Lake was even there, let alone get out and boat on it. While out on the water, they marvel at the view with Mount Timpanogos in the background. And if you throw in a gorgeous gold and pink sunset, they see their new surroundings, much like the astronauts view the Earth from space for the first time. After 22 years of sailing on Utah Lake, these incredible visual events inspire, humble, and give me gratitude for being able to do the thing I love to do, sail on Utah Lake.